Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, we're talking with State Senator Melanie Scheibel for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
From your house to the White House, the folks at D&D Roofing can get it fixed with their eyes closed.
Nearly 200,000 Nevadans work in retail businesses, supporting families and the community. Nevada's retail businesses generated over $2 billion in sales tax revenue in 1 year, including nearly $700 million to help our schools. Shop around and see all that Nevada's retailers offer our state.
We're the Retail Association of Nevada, representing thousands of Nevada businesses.
Businesses that work for Nevada.
Pro Group Management is the place where companies can find workers' comp solutions that are designed to meet their specific business requirements. As regulations evolve, Pro Group takes a proactive approach to clear the path to make sure your business stays ahead of the curve. Knowing your workers' comp program is optimized, you can focus on other important matters related to your growing business. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Safety is the #1 priority for the trucking industry. Over $7 billion a year is spent on technology like this electronic eye that will apply the brakes automatically. But the most important factor for safety is the truck driver. These hardworking men and women who safely move over 70% of our nation's freight and 94% of Nevada's. We thank you because trucks move America forward.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, coming to you from Carson City. We're in the state capitol in the old Supreme Court, and we're delighted to welcome back to the program, State Senator Melanie Scheibel of Senate District 9. Pleasure to have you back on the program.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back.
Would you share the last time you were on the program?
I would love to. I was last on the program in 2005 when I was still in high school for a Nevada Newsmakers Teen Edition, and this is my first return in 14 years. So.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you back, and we're thrilled. For anybody that wants to search you on Google, they will find out that you've had an amazing life since 2005, working in Africa, getting your law degree, and doing all kinds of things in public service. And now, would you say this is the ultimate in public service?
It is. I mean, this is a fantastic opportunity to serve my community. It has been a great learning experience, and I think that being a state senator, for me, yes, is my greatest public service so far, but also part of it is learning how many other people are serving our community in the Legal Counsel Bureau, my staff, all of the people who helped me get here through the election. And so public servants aren't just the people that you see, in the pictures on the walls of the Capitol. There are a lot of other public servants there.
And in your regular life, you're a deputy DA in Clark County.
Yes.
So you have interesting prosecutorial experience as well.
Yes.
All right, so let's jump into some issues.
Okay.
A bill to ban involuntary chipping of people, microchipping, easily passed the Assembly, but ran into the skeptics in the Senate Judiciary Committee, where you are a member. Las Vegas magician show, the committee showed the committee that perhaps the microchip was not as sinister as some feel, according to the Las Vegas Review-Journal. The magician showed how the microchips could open locked doors, speak text from her phone, even call her husband on command. They can store health or emergency contact data such as those implanted in pets. Where do you stand on this bill, and do you think it'll be amended in order to pass the Senate Judiciary Committee?
So that was a fantastic hearing, maybe one of the highlights of my service here, because the Anastasia Sin, who came in and testified, was not somebody who any of us knew. She was a she is a resident of Las Vegas, a citizen who learned about the bill, learned about the hearing, and showed up to tell us what she thought, and it was just eye-opening. So before she testified, I had some concerns about the bill. I was more concerned about individuals with disabilities not being able to fully utilize technology and fully develop technology. I was thinking specifically of cochlear implants, but I know that there are other people who are developing chips and readers and technological advancements for aid in speaking, for controlling wheelchairs and other assistive devices. But then once Anastasia started speaking, it really became clear that our knowledge of this whole field of interest is not quite developed enough, I think, to implement a policy or a ban. And I'm not sure what's going to happen with the bill. I can't say, but I know that I have some serious concerns about it.
Give us some of the examples of your concerns, because it seems to me this is a direction we're heading in, and we've already given up so much privacy online willingly to the Amazons and Googles, etc. But this seems to be a step seemingly too far.
I mean, the problem is that the bill would also ban voluntary microchip implantations. So for individuals who want to have a microchip, who want to be able to use that, again, for assistive devices for people with disabilities, or people who want to use them for personal expression. I think that it's important that people are allowed to modify their bodies in ways that they want to. And so I'm not here to tell anybody that they can't implant a chip in their arm that automatically calls their husband, which is just mind-blowing, but good for them.
From your day job, would that be helpful to law enforcement for people to be chipped?
I don't think so. I don't foresee this as any kind of governmental program. I see it much like body modifications, that we don't really utilize any kind of system for surveilling people or for tracking people, and I don't foresee that changing.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back much more with Senator Scheibel after this.
Tamarack Junction is South Reno's hotspot with over 450 of the latest slots and video games. Sully Sports Bar, the Dining Car Restaurant, William Hill Sportsbook, and the Tamarack Steakhouse and Lounge. We're just north of the Summit Mall in South Virginia. Yeah.
Because of UMC, I'm putting my free time to good use.
Because of UMC, she keeps me on my toes.
Because of UMC and this guy, I'm here.
UMC, the highest level of care in Nevada.
Hi, I'm Eric Robnett, owner of Home Energy Experts. Has this ever happened to you?
Honey, did you remember to turn down the thermostat?
Forgetting to set the temperature? Not fun. We can help. Our new smart thermostat keeps the temperature set for your comfort all by itself.
I'm feeling hot now.
To increase your comfort, go to homeenergyexperts.com for details. That's homeenergyexperts.com.
The signs and symptoms of cataracts can start out small with subtle changes in your vision. So don't wait. Be proactive and take your vision into your own hands. If you're experiencing the onset of cataracts or just have questions, contact your eye care professional or call Eye Care Associates of Nevada today. Dr. Hiss has years of experience specializing in the surgical correction of eye disorders and has completed over 84,000 vision correcting procedures. At Eye Care Associates of Nevada, we'll change the way you look at the world.
The Tamarack Junction Steakhouse is known for signature steaks, handcrafted cocktails, and world-class wines. Join us Thursdays and Friday nights from 4:30 to 6:30 in the Steakhouse Lounge for live music, gourmet plates, and well-priced wines, just north of the Summit Mall on South Virginia.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with State Senator Melanie Scheibel of Senate District 9 down in Clark County. The biggest lift in the legislature seems to be Assembly Bill 236 that's coming through, ushered in by the Chairman Stephen Yeager. Some feel it would change a statewide culture based on fighting crime with longer and harsher prison sentences. It has 25 recommendations, some of which would lead to curbing the state's prison population. There's been pushback from DAs across the state. What are your thoughts on this piece of legislation?
I'm really excited to see the bill when it comes out of the Assembly Judiciary Committee. The process that we go through and the process that the Assembly Judiciary is going through right now is incredibly comprehensive to address all 25 recommendations and to modify them and amend them to make them as strong as possible. And so when we get that bill on the Senate side, we'll dig into all of the language. But we've already started hearing other criminal justice reform bills. We have a bill coming up today to talk about, or I'm sorry, might not be today, but this week,
right,
to talk about sealing convictions that people had for marijuana offenses that would no longer be considered offenses, which I think is incredibly important. I don't think it's fair that people have convictions on the books for a crime that they committed a year or two ago, which is not a crime anymore, and which we've seen that they seriously impact people's ability to get a job, find housing, receive medical care, despite being these extremely low-level offenses. So I think that that's an important bill for us to look at, and we have some others coming up that are going to complement the largest criminal justice reform bill to try to implement some really smart changes in Nevada.
Have you had any lobbying pressure from DAs or their staffs across the state, against this at this point, or not necessarily against it, but wanting to change some of the language?
Not too much yet. Certainly I have conversations with my colleagues just to make sure that I'm understanding laws as they are being passed and as they're being presented to me, but not heavy lobbying, no.
A lot of people are in prison for white-collar crimes. Are you comfortable with the idea that a lot of these crimes can be dealt with in other ways, rather than putting people in prison and having to build more prisons because of that?
Yes, I am a big proponent of pre-prosecution diversion programs and alternative sentencing programs that keep people out of prison, because I don't think that prison is generally the best way to avoid recidivism and to rehabilitate people. I think that wherever we can provide them with services and hold them accountable for their actions, but provide the tools and the education necessary to prevent them from reoffending, that's where our priority should be.
Will there be pressure, do you think, from victims of crime? Because if you go back 20, 30 years in this country, tough on crime was the way that not only Republicans but Democrats were getting elected as well. Senator Richard Bryan's campaign for Attorney General had him by a jail door, slamming that door shut. If you commit a crime, you're going to jail. Do you think things have turned around enough that we're seeing, a more reasonable view of this?
I certainly think views are changing, and I think that the question about victims is an interesting one because in my line of work, I deal directly with victims every day, and something that I think people forget is often someone who is a victim today will be a defendant tomorrow, or vice versa. And so people are starting to understand the different parts of the process, and I view those people the same way, because I have to remember when I'm looking at somebody who is being accused of a crime that, that person might have been in this courtroom a week or two ago testifying as a victim of a crime, and that shouldn't change how we treat people.
What are your thoughts on how law enforcement and the courts have dealt with marijuana? Because it seems to me that they have been extremely reasonable by comparison with what you might have expected with the fact that people were enforcing the law for so many years, and now it's legal.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's definitely a difficulty with the strain between the state law and the federal law. And something that we have to remember is a lot of our state laws are impacted by federal laws as they pertain to our funding. And we have to implement certain laws on the state level in order to continue to receive federal funding.
For example?
For example, there are drug trafficking laws that have to meet a certain criteria and have a certain penalty associated with them in order for us to receive grants from HIDA, the High Intensity Drug Trafficking Agency. I don't think agency is the right word, but the HIDA grants depend on us having certain laws on the books. So for a long time, we've been trying to straddle that line of doing what's best for us as a state and maintaining compliance with federal law. And I think that, at least where I practice in Clark County, I've seen excellent work done to try to prevent people who have, very low amounts of marijuana, who aren't selling it, from getting caught in the prison system.
What do you think of these marijuana lounges that the Las Vegas City Council just approved?
I think that it was unsurprising, at least to me, because perhaps this is simplified, but I think of them like bars. If we make alcohol legal and serve it to a bunch of people at the same time in a bar, what's the difference between making marijuana legal and serving it to a bunch of people at the same time in a lounge?
And I couldn't agree with you more. Let's take a break. We'll be back with more after this time out.
Dimitri Prine here for Design Outdoor. Come visit Design Outdoor's store and backyard to see our wide selection of fire pits, barbecues, and pizza ovens, natural stone water features and fountains, and frost-proof pottery. Our store and backyard are located at 11600 South Virginia, just north of DeMonte Ranch Parkway. Visit designoutdoor.com or call us at 851-9499.
One of the most psychologically damaging things parents can do to children in divorce is disparage one another, which is why I can't believe I even have to make this commercial. Half of your kids' genetics come from this person you're spewing hate about. Your children have the right to love you both, but more than that, they deserve to love themselves.
Marilyn York might be a men's rights divorce attorney, but this is for every selfish parent. Shut up!
Hi, I'm Dave Newman. Remember me? I used to be the house detective, and now I'm a realtor, full-time at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates. A lot of people ask me, how's the market? You know what? It's fantastic. If you're even kicking around the idea of buying or selling, give me a call. Let's talk about it. Call me at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates and just ask for the guy who used to be the house detective, Dave Newman.
Everyone is talking about opioids, but they're not the only drugs that can be harmful if taken in large quantities or not as prescribed. You also need to be aware of side effects from anxiety drugs, muscle relaxants, sleep aids, and stimulants. Mixing prescription drugs with other drugs or alcohol can be dangerous. If you take Ambien with a glass of wine, it may be enough to stop you from breathing. Prescribed drugs can be just as dangerous as illegal drugs. Take medications only as directed.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with State Senator Melanie Scheibel. As we've only had her on now twice in 14 years, we're going to give her the whole show here to discuss things. Last week, the Senate Judiciary Committee heard AB 139, which requires any person to be 18 years or older to marry. What are your impressions of the bill after that testimony that you heard?
I think it's good public policy. And part of being a lawmaker is thinking about what the good policy is, or what we want to occur in principle, and what we want to occur in practice. And this is a great example of a place where it's important to understand what happens in practice, because even though we could come up with some hypothetical situations where having a marriage age lower than 18 made sense, what we're seeing in practice is people coming from other states to take advantage of our marriage laws, to marry older adult men to young women and girls under the age of 18. I believe we had some in Nevada who were married at 14, 13, and I can't imagine a good reason for that. And so the data to me is pretty clear that our law is not working to protect the most vulnerable of our populations. And so raising the marriage age to 18 is a good and effective, implementable way to try to crack down on some of the abuses that we see of the marital contract.
And what kind of support are you seeing at the legislature and from the governor's office on this?
I've not spoken to the governor about it. In the legislature, I think that it is gaining support as people are learning more about the issue, because I think that at first blush, it's not the issue that people think that they're talking about.
You're a chair of natural resources, and so water issues, which are always one of the biggest issues, come under your purview. What's your position on the potential pipeline that Southern Nevada Water Authority would like to build, perhaps 20, 30 years down the road, but from eastern Nevada down to Las Vegas?
I think that the landscape could change in 20 or 30 years. And I say that literally, not just the political landscape, but how much water we have could change. Unfortunately, it's unlikely that we will have more water in Nevada, but it's possible we'll have less. And so it's important that right now we're talking about conserving water and making smart choices with water, which I think we're doing. We are working on a bill this year, which is already through the Senate, to ensure that basins that aren't over appropriated maintain a minimum level of water. We're working on regulations to ensure that new homes are being built with WaterSense compliant fixtures so that they're not overutilizing water. And I think all of those are important parts of looking towards Nevada's future to make sure that we have the water necessary to maintain our natural habitats and all of our communities, from the most rural, smallest towns to our larger metropolitan areas.
Do you think realistically, as we're looking at the population of Las Vegas increasing by 50% to over 3 million people in the coming decades, and as you say, the chances of us getting a larger allotment of the Colorado River is pretty darn slim. Even the agreement that just was passed, the Imperial Valley District did not sign on to that agreement. Do you think it's inevitable that we will see that water? Because the Southern Nevada Water Authority already owns that water. They bought the ranches, they're maintaining those ranches, that is their water. So do you think that, you know, as I say, maybe 20, 30 years down the road, that could end up being delivered to Las Vegas?
I think it could, but I don't think that it's inevitable.
Because
there are so many other factors to consider when we're talking about building that kind of infrastructure. And technology is also developing. So we're talking this year about desalination and taking water from the ocean and removing the salt in order to make it potable for people in Las Vegas. We're talking about water swaps with other states that are closer to oceans or closer to larger rivers. There are all kinds of new policy and technological developments that we're starting to explore, or that we're continuing to explore, that perhaps in 20 or 30 years we will have a different solution that is more palatable to the majority of Nevadans.
I think that having a discussion with Senator Reed on how long that process might take in coordination with the other states and especially California, yes, the idea is great. Pat Mulroy has talked about this on this program many times, about desalinating water either off the coast of Mexico or potentially off the coast of California, and California therefore taking less. But then you have to go through the entire process with every state on that river. I mean, that's a really heavy lift.
It is a really heavy lift, but everybody needs water. So if there is a place for all of us to come to the table and take the time and utilize the resources to come up with an agreement that works, we only get one planet, so we really got to do it right when it comes to water policy. And I think that that's one place that hopefully we can get all the stakeholders to the table.
The Truckee River Operating Agreement up in northern Nevada took Senator Reed almost 30 years, pretty much his entire service in Congress, to get that done. So you deal obviously with environmental issues, and Patrick Donnelly of the Center for Biological Diversity announced plans to seek federal endangered species protection for the perennial plant, which is a crazy plant. It's called the white margin beard tongue, that's in the Ivanpah Valley. And they want to get this put on the list of endangered species, but this is exactly the area where the Ivanpah Airport is potentially going to be built, and then there's, that's where the major development for Las Vegas is going to end up moving. What are your thoughts on this? Is a plant that shows up every few years. It's minuscule. There are efforts being put underway by Clark County to save this species. What are your thoughts on between the growth that is needed to sustain the Las Vegas Valley and this kind of action from the Center for Biological Diversity?
It's a bold move.
Bold, to say the least.
And I mean, I can understand why preserving every species is important and why they're focused on this plant. And I can't help but get kind of excited because I also, in law school, was a mediator. And this is like the perfect opportunity, right, to have environmentalists and conservationists on one side and developers on the other side, and all of the everyday Las Vegas Nevadans in the middle who kind of want both. And so to be able over the course of months or years to bring all that input into one place and try to come up with the best solution, and hopefully it's not a winner-take-all solution, that's an exciting policy proposal to me, or an exciting process to me. And I know that that's not true for everybody, but I think that that's why I like this job.
And that's where we have to leave it. Let's not wait 14 years to have you back on again.
Please.
Pleasure to have you back on the program.
Nice. Thank you so much.
And we'll be right back.
A bird's eye captures its surroundings at different heights. At Brian Culpa Photography, we can make your imagination soar over buildings, parks, cityscapes, and beyond. Brian's images tell the story and get the job done. If you need a new perspective to tell your story, contact Brian today. Brian Culpa Photography. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com.
Hey, Dad? Are you learning? This place is great. Huh? You gotta try this.
Wow, this stuff is great. People are gonna love it.
Yes. Yes, they will.
St. Ives Florist, for every holiday and every special occasion. For romance. Custom home design. We have the largest selection of fresh flowers in northern Nevada. And we also offer a large selection of unique gift items. Come see me, Lori Ann, at St. Ives Florist, 700 South Wells Avenue, or call me at 333-9190.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
In addition to NevadaNewsmakers.com, you can also watch Nevada Newsmakers on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll see you on the next broadcast.